Welcome to the Blueprint Podcast. Come explore the roadmap of our shifting consciousness where self-actualization, exposing your talents and gifts is the norm. Now here's your host, Angela Blaha.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Blueprint Podcast. I'm Angela Blaha and this is Renee Keene. Thank you, Renee, for joining again this week.
Oh, so much fun to be here.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm really good. There are so many things happening in our world at this time and in our cosmic world.
Yes, so we are prepping. Well, let's talk about that for just a little bit. In the cosmic world, or in the big universal picture, the birthing of the new earth is in progress and it is well on its way. Everything seems to be going well. That whole birthing process will probably take place around the fall equinox. And so just to sort of give you all a heads up about that, anything to add in that area?
No, I think you're spot on. I think that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And that timeline feels very accurate to me.
Yeah. And I think it's collapsing all other timelines around it, is what I've seen.
Which is why what I'm feeling, and clients and friends that I've talked with too, it's like today, this seems like what it is. And you go to sleep, you wake up and it's like, oh, there's more. And it's coming in so fast that sometimes it's kind of hard to get your legs underneath you because it's shifting so fast.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that plays right into our topic today. You know, this whole, like, how are we shifting and are we actually shifting? And some people are resisting it to the max that they possibly can, you know, and it's like, I mean, there's a lot of strife in that sort of resistance kind of component. But this week I had a client ask me if there was a spiritual explanation for not being able to concentrate and feeling scattered and feeling stagnant, which I think when I look at the big picture of, you know, the entire picture of the planet, I think that people are really struggling in this area, like this whole, you know, because things are changing so rapidly, our concentration is very minimal. We do feel very scattered. Like one day you're fantastic, have a lot of clarity, you feel like you're aligned, and then next moment, actually, you can feel like, what the heck just happened? I don't even know who I am anymore, you know. And then stagnant, like feeling of stagnant. Like I spent a couple of weeks in that stagnant kind of energy last month. And it was very it was disturbing. I want to say it was very disturbing. And so is there a spiritual explanation? I'm going to say, yeah, there is. There is a spiritual explanation. And that explanation is separation, like this whole game of separation that we've created and are living through. You know, the world is literally based in chaos. That's the whole main component of separation, is that there is chaos and distractions. And these are very purposeful. Like we have so many. I mean, all you have to do is turn the TV on, you know, and it's very purposeful and it is very harmful because it keeps us separated from our inner connection and to our own self mastery, which we have been, you know, honing in on and really saying how important that is. So would you agree? Or
I think that you're spot on with that. That's why our tendency is to say that we're scattered or we're not remembering or we're confused because it is shifting and coming from separation and duality. All of those little pieces, as much as I'd like to say, oh, I don't have any of that in me anymore. Well, it's still there sometimes, and sometimes in a big way and sometimes in a small way. But that's still like, I don't know if it's because it's still in my DNA in some shape or form, or if it's in my mind, but I'm still dealing with that. So when those shifts and changes happen, I stop and I question, which makes me more scattered. Instead of just saying, more information. Cool.
Well, we haven't learned to trust our inner knowing.
Exactly.
I think that that's the biggest problem in our shift right now is we still have not learned to trust the intuition or to follow it. Like, I don't know, there's probably more people who are listening to this since 2020, but I still believe that it's a hard concept because we've been told over and over and over and over not to listen to our inner self, not to hear our God self, not to, self-actualize into thriving. We have to be in this lack mentality, which is all about chaos, right? Like chaos supports lack, because if it can keep you in lack mentality, it can keep you distracted, and it can keep you not aligned with who you really are. It can keep you in stagnation, So I think that that's with my clients and what I see in the world is that component, the whole thing about not having clarity keeps you in separation, in that whole, energy of, which is a vibrational frequency, and it carries a lot of weight in our societies. And that is the proponent, I think, that we are up against. Like that's the thing that our souls are literally fighting against, is the heavy energy, the heavy vibration, that frequency that is very stagnant. When you have a vibration that's mundane and stagnant, and it's hard to move. It's literally hard to change it, and it's hard to move it. And so that, I think, is the symptom that we are feeling right now anyway. And I think that that's another good component or good reason to be talking about this, is these feelings that we have. They are literal symptoms, just as physical symptoms are warning signs that something isn't functioning properly in the body. Lack of concentration, feeling very scattered and stagnant are literal symptoms of not being connected to your higher self, to the universe, to your God, to your Godself. And I think that that's important, that we know that these are just symptoms, that this isn't who we are, that this isn't our natural self, that these are literal symptoms that we have created to give us warning signs. But do we heed them? Do we listen to them? And these symptoms, these feelings that we have, are literal symptoms of distraction and chaos.
One of the things that I see people falling into frequently, and to me, this is the stagnant piece, is that, well, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to sit back and see how that goes for her or him, or I'm just going to sit back and wait. And I just need to say, the more we sit back and wait and observe, there are times to be the observer, don't get me wrong. But once you find that you're always stepping back, you're always waiting for, well, let's see what happens if she does that or he does that. That stagnation becomes a vibration that's more familiar to you than what you're really striving for. So to me, that's the biggest key word for when something comes up for me. If I find myself in that state, feeling stagnant and just feeling, it's like, okay, you better look. You better find what this is about. And you better see where that's at. Because it becomes a comfortable place too.
Yeah.
It becomes very comfortable. Like, I can just see.
It's the coasting. It's the zombie effect. It's
that's
being
good.
the sheep, being the sheep. That's what happens is you sit back, you don't make any kind of action. There's no action. There's no negative action. There's no positive action. You're just in that space of the void, which is horrifying, if in my opinion, because it's so hard to come back out of that energy, right? That frequency, that vibration, that voided kind of field where nothing literally takes place. That does, in my opinion, more harm than good to a person, because you have to literally almost start over. It's it's not the phoenix rising kind of energy in that void space. It's laziness. It's all the negative things that we think about humanity exist in that voided energy field. Now, some people probably experience that void differently, but it's not a place of rest. It's not a place of, seeing a bigger picture. It's not a place of gathering up yourself, or, it's a place of nothing. Nothingness. And it's not the nothingness of creation. It's the nothingness of evil, as far as I can tell. Because I hate that place. Because I spent a long time in there when I came back from Peru the very first time, because because everything shattered for me. Like literally everything was shattered. And I spent a good 6 to 8 months in that space. And it did more harm to me than it did good, because there was lots of confusion in that space. There was lots of questioning and doubt, and it was very detrimental. I didn't find it useful. I found it very, very hard to come out of.
And we're so glad you did.
Me too, because it was, if you want to kill me, you put me in that space.
Oh yeah, no fun.
But but I think that's part of this whole question, and why this client had this question this week is things are very purposeful right now. Like there is these belief systems and this entangled web that's being created right now. It's very purposeful. It's purposeful to keep you in the chaos. It's purposeful to keep you questioning about yourself. It's purposeful in keeping you small, not seen, not heard, not having a voice. It's keeping you in that space of void so that you don't actually become powerful in who you are.
And it keeps you completely separated.
Absolutely.
From your highest self.
Yeah. And it keeps you fighting amongst others. Right? Because your ego's attached to that whole thing, and it has to be right. It has to be right. Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. So how do we change this, right? Like, how do we change these feelings of non-clarity and being distracted and, being in that space of void? Well, I believe the very first clue or the key is to be a very good steward of your energy, your frequency, your vibration. Like always come back. Everything always comes back to you and what you believe in, because the beliefs are the veils of chaos.
Yep.
They are the tools of separation. And they create these feelings that we have. They create these, non-clarity. It's the beliefs that literally create the emotions that get attached, the thoughts that get created, and then the disconnect from your spiritual self, from your soul.
Exactly. And I think that is the place to start, to begin with.
Yeah. So how do you, cleanse your energy field every single day? What are the tools that you use?
Oh, for the most part, myself, through meditation. I do a lot of that work of getting rid of all that junk that really isn't me, that I've somehow allowed in my field. I've somehow allowed it in, and I've learned I don't have to know how something got there. I think sometimes when we spend so much time trying to understand how something got in my field or whatever, that keeps us stuck in that stagnation, because we're still looking at the whatever. And I'm not saying we don't need to look at our belief patterns and stuff, but there's a very fine difference between asking yourself, and that's what I do. Do I need to know the root of this, or can I just let it go? Sometimes I get just let it go. Most of the time, I would say by far, it's just let it go. But occasionally it's like, no, you should dive into this because this is a deep rooted belief.
Mhm.
And it's going to lead me to a bigger, broader picture of why I am where I'm at.
Mhm.
So the meditation piece works for me. Oftentimes I'm just going out in nature too. Like in the middle of the day, if something trips my trigger, I'll just go outside and take a walk, talk to the trees and the plants and the sky and, Mother Earth,
Yeah.
whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it.
Yeah.
And then I can just release. I can just release and let all of that go. So that's
Mhm.
kind of how I clear my energy. You can also do it really fast and just go, boom.
Yes.
Done that too.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and it never hurts. If you are feeling really like there's something in your energy that you can't release, you don't have the ability or the skills, that's when you call somebody like Angie or me. I mean, that's you say, hey, I just can't do it. And we can guide you to do that, but you still have to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, does that explain pretty much?
Yeah. Yeah. A couple things that I do too is I created a growth mindset, which means that every single day I'm looking to learn something new or explore something that I don't, that I'm not a master of yet. There's always that yet thing. And then, using Palo Santo wood or, some type of scent sometimes helps, or, I don't know, Florida water to cleanse my, that creates a ritual kind of a thing. I have a tendency not to get bombarded in rituals because I feel like those can keep me stagnant as well. And so I try not to create ritualistic kinds of things. Instead, I'm constantly asking, what is it that I need right now? Or, if I'm feeling a certain way, it's how can I clear this instantly? And then I'll get a different kind of an answer. Like sometimes recently it's been real different. Being out amongst people has a tendency lately to clear my energy field. Why? It's not, yeah. I'm not sure how that's working yet because I haven't actually watched it work, which is generally how I learn how things work. But yeah, being among others, and it could be just that there's a soul connection someplace that needs to be made, or an activation that needs to be made, and somebody that a perfect stranger might be the one activating that within me. And so I've been drawn to be around or go certain places where there's large groups of people, like the zoo. We were just at the zoo with my kids and the grandchild, and I was just like, ooh, lots of people. But no, it was like, yeah, you need to go there today. You need to do that. You need to be around these people. And then it would draw me into certain places. So that was very interesting. And I found that it was easy to do because I wasn't really guarded. And, people didn't really bother me. Like sometimes there's a lot of energy, but, it was filled with kids, and maybe it was the crystalline energy that the kids are carrying that are just they're just activating people right now. And I think that was part of it because there were some kids that that I was just really drawn to, and I just fixated on them, and they just kept staring at me, like looking at me, like,
like I see you.
Yeah, it was kind of fun, but
like I see you.
yeah. So there are different things that are popping up, that are very, and even though we want to attach some sort of meaning to them or something, they can be just activations, and they can be just a ways for you to clear your field. And so I think that that's the first thing that we need to do, is to be really good stewards of our own frequency, our own vibration, constantly having a growth mindset, particularly right now as we are, preparing for the new earth. and all the foundational components that are being created for that. I think that we really need to review our belief systems, start reviewing them and saying, okay, well, this belief just does not serve me any longer. Like who would think, and maybe this is if you're in a lack mentality, I'm just going to take my parents, for example, like they had this very strong lack mentality. They believed in hard work. They believed in, the hierarchy, the patriarchal hierarchy where, the man made all the decisions and the woman was just there for the ride. And those kinds of belief systems, I think, are coming to the surface to be reviewed. And, who knew that a child, a crystalline child, for example, would be able to activate that or to erase that for you. And I think that these kinds of things are happening all over the place. And we are either really paying attention to them, or we are completely in not necessarily denial, but we are just oblivious to the fact of how it's happening.
There is a big key in that crystalline children piece. And that would be something that I would encourage people, if they haven't paid attention to this age group, to really listen when someone of that age group talks to you and hear their words and hear their it's almost like you can have a very good telepathic experience with the child, like Angie, you with just connecting with the eyes with these kids. There's something going on there, and you can just smile and walk away, or you can say, I see you, I hear you, you're beautiful, whatever it is. And that happens with these children. And they don't have to be your grandchild.
No.
Or anybody you know.
Perfect
It can be,
strangers.
like you said, somebody at the zoo, somebody in the grocery store. I mean, it's just one of the coolest experiences because they are activating not only us, but others around. And it's, I just got the goose pimples.
Yeah. Well, they I think that they're when I'm intuitively looking at, they don't have to be good stewards of their energy fields because their vibration is so rapid. We can call it high, or we can call it whatever it is, but it is such a different frequency that nothing in the 3D physical reality can understand or attach to. And so, I feel like they know things that we don't know, because they are operating at a different frequency, and because they don't have this compartmentalization of separation that we have experienced through the belief systems, through the DNA imprinting. Their imprinting is very, very different. And so I think that that's a good tool to use or to observe, are these different frequencies that are actually on Earth now, and how can we access that frequency? Like they're the creators of the new world. Honestly, they already hold the codes. They already hold the understanding of how it's going to work. How can we actually see their frequency and use it, or use it to literally move ourselves in that direction? They just don't have the separation.
They don't. There's no denseness in them. It's just until perhaps they get programmed. And I have witnessed that happen with beautiful souls. And all of a sudden they're in the programming.
Yes.
So that is a real big piece that I've been working on, is keeping them out of the programming.
Yes.
The ones I know closely.
Yes, agree.
Perhaps that's okay. Have you thought about it this way?
Exactly.
Do you remember when yeah, I do remember that. So
Mhm.
We still have the chaos, as you said at the beginning. But these little light spirits are really, they're our earth guides, if you want to call them that.
Yeah.
They're here on earth right now. And I don't know if they're guides, but they're little lights.
Well, they're the creators of a different level of humanity. I mean, they are going to
Yeah.
literally create a new human construct, like how we view humanity. What I've learned about the crystals and the crystalline beings is their spiritual connection to the universe, to their God self. Like they don't have to work at self mastery, they already are self masters.
Yes.
And they bring that vibration, that frequency here to help others. It doesn't, so this whole birthing of the new earth, it's not like we're leaving the planet, we're not creating a whole new earth, we're literally working through the frequencies, the vibrations, the belief systems, the imprintings, and we're changing them so that we can literally have a freer life. We can literally and so the soul, so the reincarnation still happens, right? Like it's still, because we still have that belief system, we still have death and birth, we still have all of these patterns that have been created. Those aren't going away immediately. Those will be slowly worked out of the system. But they already bring those new beliefs or those new imprints so that the system can actually change into that. It's like, it's not like things are going to, I don't know, shut off and restart in something whole different that's been tried in the past and it doesn't work. What we're doing now is we're slowly moving into those kinds of new, which is why it's called the new earth, those kinds of different frequencies and patterns.
Mm-hmm. What's just coming into me, and I think we're to look at this for some reason, but talking now about the crystals, this whole notion of being scattered or not having the ability to concentrate, what I can see is it doesn't exist for them.
Mm-hmm.
They may appear to you and I or others as scattered or unable to concentrate because of our belief system.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something to get really clear on for each of us. Is our understanding of the way that vibration has changed. It's not scattered. They're doing a million more things in an instant than we ever even thought was possible. And it's not scattered. It's because they can.
Right.
They can do that.
Yeah.
They don't have the limitations that we believe we have.
Right. Well, because they don't have the imprinting, they have the ability to move frequencies and vibrations rapidly. Like
Right.
imprinting holds you in a certain imprint or a certain frequency of certain vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes energy to move into a different vibration or frequency. They don't have the imprinting, and so they are moving continuously.
Yeah.
Like they can be single focused, or they can be, a multi-faceted focus. Like they can have it all in one moment.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who have imprints or those who have belief systems, like you have to literally use your energy to move from one frequency to another. And so this is where this whole separation comes in, because we're so slow at moving
Yes.
frequencies.
Yes.
And they're not, like they don't have that that hold back. They don't have those blocks in their energy systems. They don't have the imprints that hold them in that one focus or that one frequency.
Right.
Yeah. Which makes them, that's what makes them high vibration.
Absolutely.
High vibe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's where we as a society creating this new 13th human is really what we're doing, if you want to call it that. But it is moving into a frequency or in a vibration where you don't have these imprints. You can literally take an idea or a concept, and it doesn't have to imprint into your cells in order for it to be created. You can have the idea, the concept, create it, and then uncreate it all in the same moment. And so that's the vibrational frequency that we're moving into.
And I've always just loved that concept of, we've talked about creating, but that uncreating piece doesn't get talked about very often.
No.
And it's pretty important.
Well, because we've related it to death. We think that once something is uncreated, it never can exist again. But that's not really true.
No.
In a new frequency, it's not true. In our old belief patterns, it's true because we've related it to the death of the human being. When in actuality, all you have to do is poof out, just what I say, just poof out of the body and let it be destroyed. And then you can poof into or create a new one. That's really what happens.
Yeah.
But we have so much fear around that because of
beliefs.
our emotions. Our emotions play into that, and they keep us fearful. So So that's the best way to start, is to literally be a steward of your own energy, be a steward of your own thoughts, like really paying attention and cleaning up those thoughts and your emotions, understanding them. And everything always comes back to this, because this is the game of separation.
And I keep hearing the word, as you're working on this and doing this, find the courage that's in you to actually move through this and to actually do this, and not just observe and see that it can be done. But we all have this, and maybe courage, bravery, I'm not sure which term it is, but it's in you. It's in each one of us. And we've got it buried somewhere. So pull that forward so that you can move into yes, I can clear my energy, and I know how. This is how I do it. The way I do it doesn't mean anybody else has to do it that way. Find your way. Find your way, and find that depth of being, that courage, that strength, that bravery, whatever term triggers you to move forward. It's there. It's in each and every one of us. We came here with it every time we came.
Every single time.
But this time, actually, we really have the opportunity to make it happen.
Yeah, we talked a bit about that last week on the podcast about boldness, when we talked about, it's time to be bold. It's time to literally use your courage and your bravery and all the aspects of yourself to move through this transition that we are literally working through right now, and preparing ourselves for a higher vibration. And the first step of doing that is having the courage, the boldness to literally be cleaning up your energy field every day, being have a steel trap mind where you are the controller of your thoughts, and understanding and controlling the emotions instead of letting them unwrap throughout the energy fields. And having that deep, profound connection to your soul self, that connection to your intuitiveness, that connection to your inner burst being that you are, your Godself, and not being afraid of that, because it brings power.
Do not be afraid of your own power.
No, but we've been programmed.
We have been programmed to do that, and that really is all shifting.
Yes,
it is really all shifting. And sometimes we can feel it in slight little tiny ways, and sometimes it's like, whoa, and you get knocked off your push.
Yes.
So you don't put expectation around how it looks, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Drop expectation with how this looks for you. Create. If you don't like it, get rid of it and create something else.
Yes, exactly.
If you get to, you can.
Yeah. You don't have to be in a career for 40 or 50 years anymore.
Mhm.
You can switch instantaneously. There's lots of things to do out there. Yeah.
And that
Or-
keeps me going.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thanks, Renee, for joining again today. Thanks, everyone, for joining in on the Blueprint podcast. We will see you all next week.
Thank you for being with us today. To find out more about Angela, visit her website at www.angelablaha.com.